Hi, and welcome to the first installment in the French polishing tutorial. Decided to do this. I've been talking to a lot of friends and getting a lot of comments and views on the French polish videos, so decided to do one soup to nuts, starting with making shellac all the way to finishing a guitar. So this first installment, just wanted to show you what kind of things you're going to need to buy, to own. It doesn't take a lot to do. First, you're going to need shellac flake that you can get from any guitar supply house or even furniture supply house. But I've got several different colors. This is a pale blonde, amber, all the way up to a dark amber. You can see here the shellac that this flake makes, and here's the shellac from the amber. There's no stains. These are just natural colors. You can use alcohol-based stains if you wanted to color your shellacs. They come in a number of rainbow colors. Or you can also use powders. There are some furniture-based or powders for furniture finishing, also in colors. Don't use water-based. Water and alcohol, not a good idea. So stick with the alcohol-based if you're going to tint. But I don't usually tint. I find there's enough of a variation here. The shellac flake is actually secreted out of the back end of a beetle in Southeast Asia. They scrape it off the trees, process it into a flake. It's a natural flake. The wax is taken out. You can buy shellac with the wax in, but if you're French polishing a guitar, I recommend you don't get the de-waxed variety. Something else you might want to get, this is just an old coffee grinder. Don't use it for coffee anymore. We've got another one upstairs for that. I've just dedicated this now to shellac. And the only reason for that, you don't have to do that, but you can see here I've got 2 ounces ready to go. This is the shellac flake ground into a powder. Only reason you do that is it helps it dissolve when you're making the shellac. Not much to making the shellac, it's just alcohol and the shellac flake. See here, you're going to get some 95% alcohol. A couple of brand names for that. Everclear is one most people have heard of. It's hard to get in some states. It's about $15, $17 a bottle if you can get it. Sometimes you can't get it in your state, but you might be able to get it across the state line. There's alternates. If you don't want to use the Everclear, they do have a cheaper variety at the hardware store. It's called denatured alcohol. But they put in some poisons so people don't drink it. Those poisons I just prefer not to use. Even if I'm wearing gloves, I just don't want to breathe it, touch it. So I'll spend a little bit more for the Everclear. Some containers to hold the alcohol are good. I save spaghetti sauce jars. I've got some ball jars that you can buy at a craft shop. Also, some of these are some shellac I use when I'm actually doing the French polishing. I transfer it from the big containers to the small, so I've become a small container collector. And these old water bottles are great. If you don't want a bunch of glass jars sitting around, these work just fine. I actually got this at REI in Seattle the other day. It's a nice little bottle. So you'll need a bunch of those. The basic recipe for guitar finishing, most people will use a 2-pound cut. When you hear the term 2-pound cut, that's just 2 pounds of flake to a gallon of alcohol, which translates, if you do the math and make it a little bit smaller, 2 ounces of flake to 8 ounces of alcohol. 2 ounces of flake to 8 ounces of alcohol makes a 2-pound cut. Maybe half to 3/4 of that bottle, which is well more than enough to do a guitar. You don't want to make too much because it does go bad. I try to use it within several months, and if it's sitting on the shelf for over a year, I just toss it out and make some new. It's one of the benefits of being able to make it yourself. Get a couple of these nice paint strainers to get all the crud out. After you've dissolved the shellac, it's nice to run it through a strainer. And you're going to need some kind of a spring scale. This scale is great. I got this on the internet for about $10 to measure your flakes. That is 2 ounces. I've got 8 ounces ready to go. So all you do, and let's see, let's do the alcohol first. It's 8 ounces of alcohol. Two ounces of ground shellac. Maybe a little bit of coffee in there, who knows. And that's about all there is to it. That's nowhere near ready to go. This is going to need to sit at least overnight, probably for a couple days. You can speed it up. You can take the lid off or loosen the lid and put it in a bath of warm water. Don't boil it. Actually, a second thought, don't loosen the lid. You don't want to lose the alcohol. You just want to warm it to speed the melting, the dissolving of the shellac. But I typically let it go overnight. After a night, I'll use this paint strainer. I'll pour it through this 190 micron mesh, which will get any little pieces of stick or twig or dirt that they missed in the processing. And after a couple days of dissolving and filtering, this is what you're left with. It's a nice amber shellac, and I always put the date on here so you can know when it was made. This was made in December of 10, which is why it's being thrown out and I'm making fresh. But there you go. This is a nice way to store it before you transfer it to the small applicators. So that's really it. That's how you make it. Pretty simple. Next video I'll show how to make an applicator and how to get the guitar set up for French polishing. That's it. Take care.